Hey everyone, we are proud to introduce to you Mercury.io, your very own stock messenger. With the ongoing pandemic, more and more people are venturing to the stock market to invest their funds. So, what are you waiting for? Today, we will pitch to you why this topic is relevant, our general methodology for creating a recommendation model that addresses previous areas of improvement, and a summary of our main findings with ways to continue your platform moving forward. But first of all, why do we care about this topic at all? Well, an old Wall Street saying states that financial markets are driven by two powerful emotions, greed and fear. We can see the proof of this in history. From the panic sells in the financial crisis to the bullish trends in cryptocurrency and meme stocks, we even may be guilty to this presence. We all have the feeling of wanting more and not knowing when to stop, but also being too afraid to get on in the first place. After all, this process isn't easy at all. Far too many people spend too much time and effort doing research to knowing what stock they want to invest in. For one, the internet and social media has way too many bits of news, some that even contrast with each other. Even attempting to start means hours wasted. We call this analysis paralysis. That's why we have created Mercury.io, to simplify the process. Specifically, we analyze the new sentiments of a given stock, as well as its price over time on the general market to draw conclusions on whether one should buy, hold, or sell the stocks. We look at both the retail investor and fund manager point of view. In summary, we know that markets are mainly driven by investor emotions, as the quote has suggested. This is where we look at news and social media sites to look at what these emotions entail. Though there are many stock recommendation systems out there are not many that cover the emotion component. With NLP, we can quantify sentiment in a context that determines specific boundaries of whether a stock should go up or down, and we compare these sentiment quantified values to the actual stock prices as a means of an accuracy metric.
So how do we exactly quantify news sentiment? This question can be answered by using natural language processing or NLP. First, we gather data through web scraping from various news sources that Filipino investors typically use. We then pre-process the gathered text data, manually read and labeled a sample of the articles to compare with NLP dictionary's results, and selected the dictionary which has the highest accuracy. Selected dictionary is then used to score our entire news article dataset. So we have scraped about 24,000 plus articles from Twitter, Instagrams, Business World, Manila Bulletin, and Inquirer. For Twitter, we used a scraping tool called Twint and focused on formal business accounts. For Instagrams, because login was required, we used Selenium to automate logging in and browser navigation. To parse through the article data that we need, we used Beautiful Soup and Newspaper 3K Python libraries. Twitter and Instagrams had the most data, given that they churn out multiple tweets and posts per day. To pre-process our text, we tagged the stock mentioned in the title. We made the text lowercase. We fixed contractions. We removed punctuation, numbers, and stop words such as the, an, and in. And we exclude not in the stop words list because negation is important for the context of our articles. And then finally, we tokenize the text, splitting the entire article body into words. After pre-processing the text, we move on to sentiment scoring of the articles. We first manually read and labeled a random sample of 400 articles and checked which among the four dictionaries, Vader, TextBlob, Learn MacDonald, and Harvard 4 matched our labels. Learn MacDonald scored the highest in accuracy, matching 59% of our manual labels. This dictionary was built on US SEC 10K documents covering financial performance and company disclosures. This is domain specific and appropriate for finance topics.
At this point, we have the sentiment scores, number of articles per day, and the closing prices of the stocks and PSEI. With this, we were able to get our inputs such as the percentage of positive sentiments, mean sentiment scores, stock normalized close using the standard scaler, normalized PSEI close prices, and our target variable, which is the movement of the price after 5 days, classified as up, down, and stay. These are our inputs in the models KNN and SVM. And the output is our recommendation of the possible movement of the price for the next 5 days. We define the percentage of positive sentiment as the number of positive articles divided by the total number of articles in that day, and the mean score as the average sentiment score in a day. This is a part of the time series plot of Globe's stock prices and mean sentiment scores, where the closing prices shows an uptrend and sideways movement. With the sentiment scores in this period, we can see at the histogram on the right that more of it is at the positive polarity greater than zero. An example of the headlines in this period are Globe's partnership with Pure Gold at the Negosyo Convention 2019 and Globe's partnership with CPPI to provide online solutions to pawn shops. With the downtrend period of BPI's time series plot of closing price and mean sentiment scores, the distribution of sentiments at the right is more of the negative polarity, less than zero. This includes articles such as BPI being entangled with the alleged disappearance of money from German payments firm Wirecard, and tweets saying that BPI net income was down due to COVID-19. For our classification, we consider the number of trading days in our country, which is 5 days. The movement is up if the price change after 5 days is greater than 1%, down if the change is less than negative 1%, and stay if the price is within the negative 1 to 1% range.
Another feature we engineered is the normalized price movement. This is computed for by subtracting the percent change of the price of the index from the percent change of the stock price so that we can isolate the stock movement itself, ignoring the effect of the market. As for our results, we decided to follow the research papers in segregating our movement into three categories, namely up, or when the stock price goes up, down, when the stock price goes down, or stay when the stock valuation change is less than 1%. We can see that our results for Globe are on par with the benchmarks from the papers we have read. We further experimented with reducing the classes into only two, where the increase has to go above 1% for the movement to be considered up. This is factoring in the brokerage fees and tax, which increases the cost of the stock for the buyer. We can see that with Globe, KNN 2 categories is the best for predicting downward movement, and SVM with 3 categories is the best for predicting upward movement. As for BPI, it is also within the benchmark, with KNN with 2 features being the best in predicting downward movement and is also the best for predicting upward movement. In conclusion, we used the Lauren McDonald Finance Corpora as it yielded the highest accuracy in labeling news sentiment. It is best to predict downward movement for Globe with SVM with 3 classes, and the best to predict upward movement with KNN with 2 classes. As for BPI, it is best to predict downward and upward movement with KNN with 2 classes, given the precision. Our model accuracy is also competitive with those in the research papers we have read. Given the promising results of our classification models, Mercury.io can be offered as a data product for both retail and institutional investors alike. As for our recommendation, we plan to further improve the features we use by engineering more and see how they interact with the model. We also plan to integrate technical analysis, as news aren't the only drivers for stock prices. We also have only used 2 stocks for the meantime, and we plan to create models for more stocks. Finally, after improving the model, we can market Mercury.io as a data product for both retail and institutional investors alike. Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?